Queen Thalexa was once one of the most feared rulers in the galaxy. Her voice could shake worlds. Her silver throne stood high above her people. Her warships floated across the stars like dark clouds. Planets bowed to her. Enemies ran from her. Name. She ruled with cold control, showing no emotion. To her, fear was stronger than love, and control was better than kindness. Among the thousands of beings she had taken as prisoners, there were a few humans. One of them was named Tom. He had been captured during a raid on a small Earth science station. Back then, he was just a technician, someone who fixed machines and worked in labs. The Queen didn't even know his name. To her, he was just another slave, another quiet worker in her great empire. Tom worked in one of the Queen's medical research ships. He followed orders, kept his head down, and tried to stay out of trouble. He never spoke unless asked. He never looked up when guards passed. He had seen what happened to those who did. Everything changed in one terrible moment. The Queen was on her grand battleship when the attack came. A rebel fleet, smaller but faster, launched a surprise strike. They had learned her route, and they wanted to destroy the throne ship itself. The rebels had no hope of beating her empire in full war, but if they could cut off the head, they believed the body would fall. They hit the ship with a series of high-speed missiles. Explosions tore through the upper decks. Fire spread quickly. Systems failed. Walls cracked. The ship shook as if a giant hand had grabbed it from the stars and crushed it. Queen Thalexa was thrown across her chamber by the force. A beam from the ceiling crashed down, crushing her lower body. Her guards tried to lift it, but it took too long. She screamed in pain as her spine was damaged. Her control chair shattered. Her blood darkened the royal floor. When the fire was under control and the rebels were pushed back, the Queen was still alive, but only just. Her generals sent orders across the fleet. They needed new leadership. Some said the Queen was too broken to rule now. Others believed it was time for change. One by one, they turned their backs on her. Her medical team was gone. Her command crew had either died or escaped. For the first time in her life, Thalexa was truly alone. She was moved from the throne room to a small chamber deep in the ship. It used to be a cell. Now it was hers. The once powerful Queen couldn't move her legs. She couldn't breathe well without help. Her arms shook when she tried to reach for anything. Her crown had been lost during the blast. Across the hall was another cell. It held only one person, Tom. He had been hurt in the attack as well, though not as badly. His arm was burned and he had cuts across his face. But he could still walk. He could still think. And he could still see. He saw her. The Queen, lying weak, no guards, no crown, no power. At first he did nothing. Why should he help? She had treated him like a machine. She had called his kind weak and simple. He remembered the times her officers shouted at him for working too slow, even when he was sick. He remembered the other humans taken from Earth, never seen again. But as hours passed, he noticed something else. She was dying. Her chest moved slower. Her breathing machine made strange sounds. Her lips were dry. Her body trembled with every breath. Tom looked around. No one came. No one cared. She was forgotten. He remembered the training he once had. He had learned how to treat wounds, how to clean burns, how to help people breathe. He didn't have the right tools, but he had the knowledge, and he had his hands. So he made a choice. He walked to her side and adjusted the machine. He cleaned her cuts with bits of cloth. He found old wires and used them to support the broken chair she was lying on. He gave her water, one sip at a time. Queen. Thalexa opened her eyes and saw him. "You," she whispered. "Yes," he said. "Why?" she asked, her voice dry and weak. Tom looked at her, then simply said, "Because you're still alive." She stared at him, not as a ruler, not as a master, but as a woman in pain. He didn't wait for her answer. He kept working. He tore up pieces of old cloth to wrap around her waist and legs. He used metal rods to lift her legs into a more comfortable position. He found small food packs left in the ship's emergency stores and helped her eat. Each time she asked why, he said the same thing. Because someone has to help. She didn't believe him. Not at first. In her world, no one helped without reason. Everything had a price. But Tom asked for nothing. He didn't bow. He didn't beg. He didn't demand thanks. He just stayed. In those dark hours in that broken ship, something strange happened. The queen who had ruled 1,000 worlds saw one human, weak in body, strong in spirit, who didn't hate her, didn't fear her, and didn't leave her. For the first time in her life, Queen Thalexa began to wonder if she had been wrong. Wrong about humans, wrong about strength, wrong about everything. The days passed slowly on the broken ship. The lights flickered. The air was thin. The halls were quiet. Most of the crew had escaped. Some had turned off their trackers. Others had sent a clear message. The queen was no longer in power. No one was coming to help her. No one cared if she lived or died. But one man stayed. Tom. He didn't speak much. He worked with quiet hands. He moved slowly, carefully, like someone fixing a delicate machine. He kept checking her breathing tubes, cleaned the blood from her wounds, and helped her drink small sips of water. He found pain patches in an old supply bag and placed them gently on her skin. The queen still felt pain, but it was less now. At night, he sat beside her using metal parts to build something. She didn't ask what it was. She just watched. Her body was weak, but her mind was still sharp. And in that silence, she studied the human she had once ignored. Tom had brown eyes, tired eyes. His clothes were worn and torn. His hands were calloused from years of work. But his voice, when he spoke, was calm. She had known thousands of officers in her empire. All of them shouted to show strength. All of them bowed to her with fear. But Tom didn't shout. He didn't bow. He treated her like someone hurt, not someone important. Thalexa had never felt so confused. "You were a technician?" she asked once, her voice low. "Yes," he replied. "Then why are you helping me?" He didn't answer right away. He placed a piece of cloth behind her neck to support her head, then sat back. "I don't believe in letting someone die if I can help," he finally said. She looked away. No one in her empire thought like that. To her people, only the strong deserved to live. If someone was weak, they were replaced. If they fell, they were left behind. That was how she had ruled. That was how she had survived. Now, the one person keeping her alive was the same man she had once called useless. Tom stood and walked to the corner of the room. There, he opened a panel and pulled out more wires and broken parts. He brought them back and placed them beside her. "What are you building?" she asked. "A brace. For your back," he replied. She blinked. "You think I can walk again?" He looked at her, then nodded slowly. "Maybe, but not yet. First you sit." She didn't speak. She didn't believe it was possible. But she didn't stop him either. Tom worked day and night. He shaped metal into soft curves. He patted sharp parts with cloth. He used strong wires to hold the frame together. Each part was tested and adjusted. Sometimes he failed. Sometimes it broke. But he didn't give up. Thalexa watched him, curious. No one had ever worked for her like this. Not without a command, not without fear. She asked him another question. "Do all humans think like you?" He smiled just a little. "No, but many try. Even to those who hurt them?" Tom paused. He looked down at his burned arm, then back at her. "I don't forget what you did, but I choose not to hate you." She didn't know what to say to that. In her world, hate was normal. Hate gave strength. Hate built empires. But Tom had none of it in his eyes. Only patience. The next morning, Tom brought the brace to her side. It looked strange, like a frame made of silver bones. He helped her sit up slowly. She gasped from the pain, but she didn't cry out. He adjusted the brace behind her back, locking the pieces in place. Then he held out his hand. "Try sitting by yourself," he said. She hesitated, then nodded. He let go. Her body trembled, but she didn't fall. She sat, straight and still. Her breathing was slow but steady. For the first time since the attack, she didn't feel like a broken object. She felt alive. Tom smiled. "Good." She closed her eyes. "Thank you." It was the first time she had said those words to a human. Tom nodded. "You're welcome." Later, that day, he helped her eat. He even found a small music box from Earth in the storage crates. He turned it on. A soft tune filled the air. It was simple, just a few notes repeating. But it brought warmth to the cold metal room. "What is this?" she asked. "Just music." "Helps the mind," he said. Thalexa listened. The music was gentle. No marching drums, no horns of war, just calm sounds. "I never heard anything like it," she whispered. "There's more," he said. "On Earth, music comes from every place. It's not about power, it's about feeling." She listened in silence. That night, she didn't dream of war or battles. She dreamed of waves on a blue sea, though she had never seen one. The next day, she asked him to tell her about Earth. He did. He told her about the forests, the snow, the oceans. He spoke of animals and birds, of cities and farms, of how people built things, not to rule, but to live. He told her about his family, his sister who painted, his father who fixed radios. She listened to every word. "Your world sounds weak," she said at one point. Tom shook his head. "It's not weak. It's just different. We fight when we have to. But we also care." She didn't reply. In the days that followed, she began to ask more questions. About Earth, about kindness, about hope. And Tom always answered. Thalexa felt something changing inside her, not just in her broken body, but in her heart. She didn't understand it fully, but she knew one thing. This human had saved her life, not with weapons, not with power, but with patience, and she would never forget it. Queen Thalexa was no longer the same woman who once ruled star systems with fear. She had not walked in days. She had no crown, no army, no power. Yet each day she felt something different growing inside her. It wasn't strength of the body. It was something softer, but stronger. It was change. The reason behind it stood quietly beside her, fixing wires, building tools, and offering help without asking for anything. Tom. He never said much, but his presence was constant. Every day he helped her sit. He cleaned her wounds, gave her food, and kept her breathing machine working. But more than that, he spoke to her like no one ever had, not as a queen, not as a prisoner, but simply as a person. Thalexa had never known someone like him. She had known warriors, killers, and clever spies, but Tom was none of those. He was patient, careful, and honest. He didn't lie to make her feel better. He didn't flatter her to earn favor. He only said what he truly meant. That was something rare in her world. One quiet morning, while Tom was checking her brace, Thalexa spoke. "You know I once ordered cities to burn," she said. Tom didn't stop working. "I know." "You don't fear me?" "I did once," he said. "But not now." "Why not?" "Because you're not the same anymore." She didn't answer. She looked at her hands. They were thin, weak, and pale. Not the hands of a ruler. Not the hands of a queen. Tom helped her stand for a moment using the brace. She leaned on a broken piece of metal for support. It hurt, but she didn't cry out. "You're stronger than most people I've met," Tom said. She gave a small laugh. "I'm broken." "No," Tom replied. "You're healing." She looked at him. His words were strange, but they touched something deep inside her. That night, Thalexa stayed awake. Her mind wandered through memories of the past. She remembered the day she gave her first command. She was young and proud. She believed control made her powerful. She believed fear made her safe. But now she saw things differently. Tom had no weapons, no army, no threats, yet he had done something no one in her empire had ever done. He earned her respect. The next day, Tom brought in a small screen. It was old, cracked, and dusty, but it still worked. He showed her a short video from Earth. It was a story about a soldier who found his enemy wounded on a battlefield. The soldier could have walked away. Instead, he carried the enemy for miles to safety. The enemy later became his friend. Thalexa watched in silence. When the story ended, she turned to Tom. "That's foolish," she said. "Helping your enemy only makes you weak, or it makes you human," Tom replied. She frowned. "In my world, weakness is death. In my world, kindness is strength," he said. She didn't reply right away. Her eyes stayed on the screen. Something in that story stayed with her. Later, she asked Tom a question. "Do you believe all lives have value?" Tom nodded. "Yes, even the broken ones." "Even mine?" "Yes." She turned away. "You're strange." "So are you," Tom said with a smile. The days continued. The two of them worked together. Thalexa asked more questions. Tom answered each one with care. He told her about how humans argue but still work together. He spoke about families, about building homes, about growing food instead of taking it. He explained that strength isn't always about fighting. Sometimes it's about standing up for what is right. Thalexa listened closely. She told him stories too. Stories of her youth, of the pressure to lead, of the fear of looking weak. She shared how her mother taught her that only power keeps peace, and how love was seen as a distraction. Tom didn't judge her, he just listened, and for the first time in her life, Thalexa felt heard. One evening, while working on her walking, "Brace." Tom cut his hand on sharp metal. Blood ran down his palm. Thalexa reached out and grabbed his wrist without thinking. "Sit," she said. "Let me help." He blinked in surprise. She had never touched him before. She tore part of her own sleeve and wrapped it around his hand. Her fingers shook, but she did it carefully. Tom smiled. "Thank you." She looked down at her hands. "I learned from someone," she said. He nodded. "Good teacher." That small moment stayed with her. In the quiet, something unspoken passed between them. Not as master and slave, not as ruler and servant, but as two people who had shared pain, shared silence, and now shared a little trust. Next day, Thalexa asked Tom a strange question. "If you had the power to leave right now, would you?" He thought about it. "Yes," he said, "but only if you came with me." She was surprised. "Why would you want that?" "Because I believe you can change." She looked at him for a long time. "No one has ever said that to me." "Then, it's about time someone did." That night, she dreamed again. But it wasn't about war. It wasn't about her throne. It was about walking under a blue sky on a green planet. She didn't know if that place was real, but she wanted to find it. The next morning, she told Tom something she had never told anyone. "I don't want to rule like before." Tom looked at her and smiled. "Then don't," he said. "Start something new." And deep in her heart, Queen. Thalexa decided she would. She would not go back to being feared. She would go forward as someone better. The ship was still floating in space, far from any planet or rescue. The main power was weak. The lights blinked off and on. The air systems worked only because Tom kept repairing them every day. It was not a home, but to Tom and Thalexa, it had become a place of change. Thalexa was learning to stand for longer periods with the help of the brace Tom had built. Her hands were still shaky, her legs felt heavy, but she no longer lay helpless in the dark. She could sit on her own. She could eat without assistance. She had even started helping Tom repair parts of the ship. One day, while checking an old control screen, Tom found something troubling. He called Thalexa over. "This is a message," he said, pointing at the screen. "It's from one of your old warlords. His name shows here. Grovan." Thalexa stared at the name. Her eyes narrowed. Grovan had been one of her most trusted commanders. He was strong, proud, and always loyal, or so she believed. Tom pressed a few buttons and played the message. The screen showed Grovan standing in her throne room. The room was now changed. The walls were darker. Her banner was gone. He stood in her place with a smile on his face. "To all ships of the former queen," Grovan said, "I am now ruler of the empire. The queen is dead. Her rule is over. Anyone who supports her will be punished. The new empire begins now." The message ended. Thalexa sat in silence. Her hands tightened into fists. "He took my throne," she said quietly. Tom nodded. "Yes. He wants to erase me. Yes." She looked up at Tom. "Then he must believe I am still alive." Tom leaned against the wall. "Maybe. Or maybe he just wants to stop anyone from looking for you." Thalexa thought for a moment. "If Grovan rules now, he will not allow change. He will bring back war. He will continue what I started before." "I changed," Tom spoke slowly. "Then maybe you need to stop him." She looked at her hands. "How? I can barely walk." "You can still lead." She shook her head. "No one will follow me now. They all left." "Maybe not all," Tom said. He touched the screen again and brought up a small file. "There are old signal codes here. Some of your loyal captains used these codes. Maybe we can reach them." Thalexa studied the file. The codes were weak, half broken, but they were real. Some of her old supporters might still be out there. "Do you think they'll answer?" she asked. Tom smiled. Only one way to find out. Together, they worked on fixing the ship's long-range comm system. It was damaged during the rebel attack. But with time and effort, Tom brought it back to life. Thalexa helped where she could, learning to move with her brace, slowly gaining strength. After 3 days, the system was ready. Thalexa recorded a message. "This is Thalexa," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. "I am alive. I do not seek war. I do not ask for power. I only ask for those who believe in peace to answer. If you still serve the people, not the throne, respond. Grovan must be stopped, not for me, but for all who suffer under him." They sent the message into space using the old codes. For a while, nothing happened. Then a reply came. A small ship near the edge of the system responded with a simple message. "We hear you." One by one, more replies followed. Old captains, forgotten, allies. People who had once served her, now unsure but willing to listen. Tom and Thalexa looked at each other. Hope had returned, but with hope came danger. Another message came through. This one was not friendly. It was from Grovan's fleet. "To the false queen," the message said, "we know you live. Surrender or be destroyed. Your time is over." Thalexa stood tall, holding on to the edge of the console. "I will not hide," she said. Tom nodded. "Then we prepare." They used the ship's broken systems to create defenses. Tom rigged lights to flash if anyone entered. He built traps at the main doors. Thalexa helped design a shield using leftover parts from her throne systems. She knew. Longer waited for help. She worked. During one of their breaks, Thalexa sat beside Tom. "You saved me," she said. "But now I want to save others." Tom looked at her. "You already started." She gave him a soft smile. "I am not a queen anymore." "You don't need a title to lead," Tom replied. "Just a reason." That night, they received another message. A small group of ships had broken away from Groven's fleet. They wanted to meet Thalexa. They wanted to see if she was truly different. Thalexa looked at Tom. "Will you stand with me?" He gave a firm nod. "Always." The meeting was set. A new path had begun. The queen who once ruled through fear was now rising again, not with power, not with weapons, but with purpose. And the human who once served her was now walking beside her as an equal. Together, they would face what came next. The dark ship floated near the edge of an old asteroid field. It was quiet, but something had changed. Inside the metal walls, Queen Thalexa stood with her brace, stronger than before. Her back was straight, her voice was steady, and by her side stood Tom, calm and focused as always. They waited. A group of 5 small ships appeared on the main screen. Their engines glowed weak, their weapons half-powered. These were not warships. These were survivors. Their captains had once served Thalexa when she ruled with force. Now they came to see if the stories of her change were true. "They are requesting to dock," Tom said. Thalexa took a breath. "Let them." The docking bay opened. The air was tense. Thalexa walked forward slowly, supported by the brace. She did not wear her royal robes. She wore simple clothes made from what Tom had stitched together. She looked different from the queen they once knew. The captains stepped out. One of them, a tall woman named Riva, spoke first. "I expected a throne," she said. "There is no throne left," Thalexa replied. "Only purpose." Another captain, a short man with gray skin, frowned. "Why should we believe you?" Thalexa raised her hand. "You don't have to believe words. Watch what I do now." Tom stepped forward. "She saved me, though I was once her slave. She could have left me. She didn't. She could have stayed bitter. She chose better. That's why I follow her." The bow. Captains looked at each other. They had seen war. They had lost friends. They had seen the queen's cruelty in the past. But now, her voice was different. Her eyes were different. The fire was still there, but it no longer burned with pride. It burned with purpose. After a long pause, Riva nodded. "I will follow," she said. One by one, the others agreed. They didn't kneel. They stood with her. That night, they shared a simple meal. No great feasts, just food, warmth, and quiet talk. Thalexa sat beside Tom and listened to the others. They spoke about Groven. He had turned the empire into a dark machine. Cities were burning, families were forced into mines, ships were taken for war. No one smiled, no one felt safe. "He's using your name," Riva said. "Telling everyone you ordered it all before you fell." Thalexa closed her eyes. "Then, I must show them I did not." Tom placed a map on the table. "We found something." He pointed to a system far from their current location. This was a medical research center. It's now a prison. Grovan uses it to hide his worst actions. But there are still people alive there, scientists, workers, even children. Thalexa nodded. "We rescue them." Riva looked surprised. "You want to fight with these small ships?" "We won't fight unless we must," Thalexa said. "But if we show them mercy, others will follow." The next day, they left the asteroid field. The 5 ships moved together with Thalexa's damaged ship in the center. Tom worked around the clock, fixing engines, repairing shields, and boosting communication systems. Thalexa joined him when she could, learning from him, helping where possible. They reached the prison center after 3 days. It was worse than expected. Black smoke rose from the station. Fires burned inside. Drones flew in circles, keeping people trapped inside. The screams could be heard even through thick walls. Tom turned to Thalexa. "We can still leave. It's dangerous." She looked at the screen. "I won't leave them." The plan was simple. Riva's ship would distract the drones. Tom and Thalexa would land at the side of the station and enter through a broken vent. The rest would follow with rescue ships once the path was clear. As the battle began outside, Tom and Thalexa moved in. Inside, the heat was thick. Smoke filled the air. Tom helped Thalexa through the tight space. Her brace made it harder, but she kept moving. Her eyes were sharp. Her mind clear. They reached the lower level. There, behind a locked door, were over 100 prisoners. Some were hurt. Some were too weak to move. A small girl sat near the wall, holding her younger brother. Thalexa opened the door and stepped. Inside, the people froze when they saw her. "You," one man whispered. "You're the queen." She raised her hands. "I was," she said. "But I am not here to rule. I am here to help." Tom stepped in behind her. "She speaks the truth." Woman stood up slowly. "Why should we trust you?" Thalexa walked forward. Her legs shook, but she didn't fall. "Because I once forgot what it meant to care. Now I remember." She knelt down beside the girl and gave her water. The child looked up at her with wide eyes. "You're kind," the girl whispered. "No," Thalexa said. "I'm learning." The rescue ships landed soon after. One by one, the prisoners were carried out. Thalexa stayed behind to help the last group, even though the fires were getting worse. Tom pulled her out just before the wall collapsed. As they flew away, the prisoners looked at Thalexa with something she had not seen in years. Respect. Not from fear. From hope. Back on the ship, the rescued people were given food, water, and care. They told stories about the day the queen returned, not with guards, but with healing hands. News spread fast. Other captains began sending messages. Some wanted to join, some wanted to listen. The spark had started. A new fire was rising, not the fire of war, the fire of change. The small fleet moved steadily through the cold darkness of space. The rescued prisoners filled the ships. The captains who had joined Thalexa's call prepared their weapons and shields. The quiet tension was heavy. All knew that Grovan's fleet was coming. His warships were larger and stronger, but Thalexa had something more powerful than weapons. She had hope. Tom stood beside Thalexa on the bridge of the flagship. The Queen's brace was stronger now. She could stand for longer without help. Her eyes were sharp and steady. The weight of her past did not hold her down anymore. She was ready. The communication console buzzed. A message from Grovan appeared on the screen. "Thalexa," Grovan's voice said, cold and sharp. "Your time is finished. Surrender now or face destruction. Your loyalists will fall. The Empire belongs to me." Thalexa looked at the message, then turned to Tom. "We cannot run," she said. Tom nodded. "No. We must stand." She took a deep breath. "Prepare the fleet. Tell them to be ready, but to hold fire until I speak." The captains gathered in the command room. They looked at Thalexa with mixed feelings. Some remembered the Queen's harsh rule. Others hoped for something new. Thalexa raised her voice. "I do not ask you to follow a queen. I ask you to follow a future. A future where fear does not rule, where people live free and safe. We fight today not for power, but for peace." There was silence. Then, slowly, hands rose. One captain said, "We will follow you." Another said, "For peace." Tom watched as the room filled with hope. When the fleets met in space, Grovan's ships formed a large wall. His warships were ready to destroy. Thalexa's fleet was smaller and weaker, but they were united. The battle began. Explosions lit the darkness. Laser beams flashed, shields glowed and faded, ships twisted and spun in the fight. Thalexa stayed in the command room, sending orders. She kept calm and steady. Tom moved among the crew, helping where he could. His knowledge of Earth technology helped fix damaged systems quickly. The battle was long and hard. Many ships were lost. But something strange happened. Some of Grovan's own captains began to question him. They saw his cruelty. They remembered the days before the Empire fell to darkness. Messages came through secret channels. They offered to help Thalexa. Grovan was losing control. On the bridge, Thalexa received one last message from Grovan. "Give up now, or your people will die." She replied calmly, "I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. You fight for fear. Fear will fall." Suddenly the tide turned. Grovan's ships were attacked from inside. His own captains had opened doors and lowered shields. Thalexa's fleet moved forward. The battle ended quickly. Grovan was captured. Thalexa stood before him, no longer the cruel queen he knew. She was calm and strong. "You lost because you forgot what it means to lead," she said. Grovan looked angry. "You are weak," she shook her head. "I am healed. The prisoners were freed. The warships were repaired." And for the first time in many years, peace began to grow in the Empire. Tom stood beside Thalexa as she spoke to the people. "We build not on fear, but on trust. Not on hate, but on kindness." The people listened. Many did not believe at first, but slowly they saw the change. The queen who once ruled with cold power was now a leader of hope, and the human who once was a slave became a healer, a friend, and a symbol of what humanity truly meant. The Empire was no longer the cold place it once was. The stars seemed brighter, and the people spoke with hope. Queen Thalexa stood on the balcony of the rebuilt palace ship. She looked out at the planets that had once been her enemies and were now her friends. She was not the same queen who had ruled with fear. Her back was strong thanks to the brace Tom had built and her own hard work. Her heart was lighter because of the kindness she had learned. The crown on her head was simple. It was not a symbol of power, but a promise. Tom stood beside her. The human who had once been her slave now walked proudly as her closest advisor. He did not wear armor or jewels. His clothes were plain, but his eyes were full of strength. Thalexa smiled at him. "You changed my life." Tom smiled back. "You changed mine too." Their journey had been long and hard, from broken ships and burning cities to battles and new friends. But through it all, they had learned from each other. They had found something rare, respect and trust between two very different people. One day the council met to decide the future of the Empire. The leaders came from many planets. Some were still unsure, others wanted to keep the old ways. But when Thalexa spoke, they listened. "We will not build this empire on fear. We will build it on respect, on justice, on kindness. Every person deserves a chance to live free." Tom added, "And every person deserves help when they are broken. We must care for each other." The council agreed. Plans were made to rebuild cities, help prisoners, and share resources. The Empire would be a place where peace was more than a word. Thalexa and Tom worked side by side. They traveled to distant worlds. They met people who had suffered under the old rule. They listened to their stories and promised change. One afternoon, as they walked through a garden full of strange, glowing plants, Thalexa paused. "Do you think they will ever forget what I did?" Tom looked at her. "Some may not. But what matters is what you do now. You are not the past." She smiled softly. "I want to be better. For them. For myself." He nodded. "You already are." Time passed. The Empire grew stronger, but in a new way. People worked together. Children played without fear. Art and music filled the cities. The old banners of war were replaced with symbols of hope. In quiet moments, Thalexa would remember the days when she was broken and alone, when a human she once called a slave chose to help her. That kindness had healed more than her body. It had healed her soul. One evening, as the twin suns set over the capital planet, Tom and Thalexa stood together, watching the sky turn orange and pink. "I never thought I would find a home among the stars," Tom said. "You did," Thalexa replied, "and you helped me find one too." They stood in silence, knowing that their story was not just about one queen or one man. It was about hope, about healing, about a future built by many hands. The empire had changed forever, and so had they.